China is expanding its nuclear arsenal much quicker than anticipated, narrowing the gap with the United States, the Pentagon said in a report published. China could have 700 deliverable nuclear warheads by 2027 and could top 1,000 by 2030, an arsenal 2.5 times the size of what the Pentagon predicted only a year ago, according to the report published on Wednesday. By comparison, the United States has about 3,750 nuclear weapons and has no plans to increase. As recently as 2003, the U.S. total was about 10,000. China is investing in and expanding the number of its land, sea, and air-based nuclear delivery platforms and building the infrastructure necessary to support this major expansion of its nuclear forces. The assessment came in the U.S. Department of Defense's annual report to Congress on Chinese military developments. Like the U.S. and Russia, the two leading nuclear powers, China is building a nuclear triad, with capabilities to deliver nuclear weapons from land-based ballistic missiles, from missiles launched from the air, and from submarines, it said. The report said China is likely not seeking a capability to launch an unprovoked nuclear strike on a nuclear-armed adversary, primarily the U.S., but wanted to deter attacks from others by maintaining a credible threat of nuclear retaliation. A year ago, the Pentagon's China report said the country had about 200 deliverable warheads and would double it by 2030. Independent researchers have in recent months published satellite photographs of new nuclear missile silos in western China. In a rebuke on Thursday, China said Washington's report on its nuclear stockpile expansion was overblown. The report released by the U.S. Department of Defense, like previous similar reports, ignores facts and is full of prejudice, said Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin. He added that Washington was using the report to hype up talk of the China nuclear threat and describe the United States as the world's largest source of nuclear threat. Very concerning. The acceleration is very concerning to us, a U.S. defense official said. It raises questions about their intentions, the official said, calling for more transparency from Beijing over its nuclear force development. The Pentagon has declared China its principal security concern for the future, as Beijing undertakes to build the People's Liberation Army into world-class forces by 2049, according to its official plan. China is expanding its air, space, and sea forces with the aim of projecting its power globally, much as the U.S. military has for decades. The rivalry has increased concerns about a possible clash between the U.S. and China, especially over Taiwan, which China claims as its territory but which is closely supported by the U.S. The new U.S. report said China's swift military modernization aims to have the capability by 2027 to overcome any pushback to an effort to reclaim Taiwan by pressure or military force. By 2027, the report says, China aims to have the capabilities to counter the U.S. military in the Indo-Pacific region and compel Taiwan's leadership to the negotiation table on Beijing's terms. The report confirmed news stories in recent months saying that in October 2020 Pentagon officials were forced to quell real concerns in Beijing that the U.S., driven by domestic political tensions related to the presidential election, intended to instigate a conflict with China in the South China Sea. Underscoring its fears, the PLA had issued intensified warnings in state-controlled media, launched large-scale military exercises, expanded deployments, and put troops on heightened readiness, the report said. After senior Pentagon officials moved to directly speak to their Chinese counterparts, the concerns eased and a Chinese defense spokesman announced publicly that the U.S. in fact did not plan to trigger a crisis. These events highlighted the potential for misunderstanding and miscalculation, and underscored the importance of effective and timely communication, the report said. The report also questioned the PLA's intent in biological research into substances that potentially have both medical and military uses. Studies conducted at PRC military medical institutions discussed identifying, testing, and characterizing diverse families of potent toxins with dual-use applications, the report said, raising concerns over compliance with global biological and chemical weapons treaties. Such concerns have echoed since early 2020 after the COVID-19 pandemic erupted first in the area of a Chinese biological research laboratory, with PL a connections in Hunan. The Chinese have denied the lab had anything to do with the COVID outbreak, but have limited access to it from investigators. Underground silos. The report also asserted that China has begun construction of at least 3 new missile fields that cumulatively contain hundreds of underground silos from which ICBMs could be launched. The report provided no details on the new missile fields, but private nuclear analysts have reported that satellite imagery shows what appear to be vast new missile silo fields under construction in north-central China. In an update published Tuesday, analysts Matt Korda and Hans Christensen of the Federation of American Scientists said they have seen continued construction progress and have discovered unique facilities that appear intended to support missile operations once the silo fields become operational. One of those facilities, they said, is a complex in the mountains surrounded by what appear to be 4 tunnels into underground facilities. The tunnels are under construction, and there are large amounts of excavated soil dumped nearby. This facility's function is unknown, but could potentially involve missile and slash or warhead storage and management, the analyst said. As for actual nuclear warfighting, China and the United States have every reason to calculate that moving beyond the tacit threat already posed by the existence of the other's nuclear forces to actual nuclear exchanges at any level would almost certainly be so destructive and to be far costlier to both sides than any strategic or military gains could ever be worth. At the same time, history is a grim warning that deterrence sometimes fails and escalation occurs in ways that are never properly planned or controlled. Moreover, despite China's declared strategy of limited deterrence, China must look beyond the U.S. nuclear stance and to the fact that North Korea, Russia, India, and Pakistan have nuclear weapons, and the possibility that the ROK or Japan might eventually develop nuclear weapons. China must also recognize that Russia and other powers will inevitably use China's nuclear forces as a key metric in judging its status. Regardless of the rhetoric of restraint that China uses in discussing nuclear weapons, they remain important tools in shaping its influence and perceptions of its power throughout the world.